The alarm rings at 2:30 in the morning. Most champions sleep through those hours. Bill Pearl is already lacing his shoes. By the time the sun comes up, he'll have trained harder than most men train all week. And here's what that discipline bought him. Victories across 3 different generations of bodybuilders. The stars of the 50s, the giants of the 60s, the aesthetic gods of the 70s. He beat them all. So, why don't you know his name? That's the question we're about to answer. And the truth is harder than you think. Prineville, Oregon, 1940s. A farm kid named William Arnold Pearl is moving hay bales in the heat. His hands are calloused. His back is strong from labor, not choice. He sees a magazine someone left in the barn. Steve Reeves, John Grymek, body sculpted like Greek statues. Something clicks inside him. Pearl joins the Navy, gets stationed in San Diego. Late at night, after duty, he finds a base gym. No chrome, no music, just iron plates and chalk dust. He starts lifting, not for girls, not for glory, because something inside him needs to know how far the body can go. Here's where most stories would take years to unfold. Pearl's took months. He meets Leo Stern, a grizzled gym owner in San Diego who sees something raw in a young sailor. Stern's gym smells like liniment and sweat. The mirrors are cracked. The benches are worn smooth, but the men inside are serious. Stern watches Pearl squat, deep, controlled, relentless. He scribbles notes on a clipboard. "Kid," he says quietly, "you're going to shock people." Stern wasn't wrong. London, 1953. Pearl is 23 years old. He's already won Mr. America that year. Now he's standing backstage at the NABA Mr. Universe. Cigarette smoke hangs in the air. The older champions are stretching, confident. They've been doing this for years. Then Pearl walks out under the lights. Tanned, massive, but somehow perfectly balanced. The judges lean forward. One whispers to another, "He looks too good for his age." When the decision comes, Pearl takes a professional crown. The first generation falls. But here's what separates Bill Pearl from everyone else. He doesn't celebrate and disappear. He goes back to the gym at 2 a.m. the next week. He opens his own place, Bill Pearl's Gym in Southern California. And while other champions chase cameras and movie deals, he's mopping floors, training clients, writing workout logs by hand, cleaning equipment after closing. Most nights, the only sound is his own breathing and the clink of plates being racked. The 50s roll into the 60s. The bodybuilding world is changing. Reg Park is bigger now, more polished, more dominant. New stars are rising across Europe and America. Mass is increasing. Standards are shifting. Pearl keeps winning. 1956, Mr. Universe again. 1961, Mr. Universe again. Different stages, different competitors. Same result. But here's the thing nobody talks about. He's doing this while running a business, while mentoring younger lifters, while getting up at 2:30 every single morning. No days off, no excuses, just the alarm and the iron. Then something shifts in Pearl's life that most people miss. Around 1969, he stops eating meat entirely. In an era built on steak and eggs, this is considered radical, almost career-ending. His friends think he's done. You can't build muscle without meat, they tell him. Pearl doesn't argue. He just keeps training. Eggs, dairy, beans, vegetables. He tracks every meal in a notebook with the same precision he uses for his workouts. His physique doesn't shrink. It gets denser, harder, more refined. Now we're entering the early 70s. A new generation is arriving. Frank Zane, Chris Dickerson, men with razor-sharp aesthetics and scientific approaches. They're young, hungry, representing the future of the sport. Pearl is 41 years old. He's been competing for nearly 2 decades. Most champions his age are retired, running supplement companies or writing books from the sidelines. But Pearl enters the 1971 NABA Mr. Universe in London. Backstage, the young competitors are whispering, "The old man's back." They're pumping up, flexing, confident in their youth. Pearl sits calmly on a stationary bike, doing light movements. No panic, no rush, just the quiet preparation of someone who's done this 100 times before. He strips down to his posing trunks without ceremony. Here's the moment that should have made Bill Pearl a household name forever. He walks on stage at 41 years old. The younger guys follow, muscles pumped and glistening. The audience murmurs. Pearl looks bigger than he did in the 60s. More polished, more complete. Like someone managed to step out of black and white magazine era into the color photo world and somehow improved with age. The judges deliberate. When the decision comes, Pearl wins. Again, he's just beaten Frank Zane, who will go on to win Mr. Olympia 3 times. He's beaten Chris Dickerson, a future Olympia champion. He's beaten the men who represent bodybuilding's future. The third generation falls. Think about what that means. Pearl started competing when some of these men were children. He's outlasted the legends of the 50s, dominated through the 60s, and now, in 1971, he's still taking crowns from the stars of the 70s. 3 different eras, 3 different standards of what a champion should look like, and he adapted to all of them while never losing his core identity. But here's where the story turns dark in a way you don't expect. Pearl's career should have exploded after 1971. He should have been on magazine covers forever. He should be a name everyone recognizes, like Arnold or Reeves. Instead, he quietly stepped back. He turned down Hollywood offers. He focused on his gym, his students, his books. While Arnold was conquering movie screens, Pearl was teaching a teenager proper squat form at 6 in the morning. While other champions built supplement empires, Pearl was writing encyclopedic training manuals by hand. The media loves controversy, scandals, drama, feuds. Pearl offered none of that. He was reliable, humble, almost impossibly disciplined. He held competitors backstage, even the ones he was about to face on stage. He gave honest advice without condescension. He never badmouthed anyone. And in the world of publicity, that kind of steady excellence is easy to overlook. The loudest voices get remembered. The quietest champions slip through the cracks. There's another factor most people miss. Pearl's greatest victories came in NABBA Universe competitions, not on the Mr. Olympia stage. When the Olympia became the premier event in bodybuilding, it created a new hierarchy of fame. The champions who won Olympia titles, those are the names that stuck. Arnold, Haney, Coleman. Pearl retired from competition right as that shift was happening. He was already a 5-time Universe winner. He had nothing left to prove on stage. But to modern fans who only know Olympia history, his name doesn't appear in the same conversations. Let's talk about what happened after the trophy stopped. In the early 80s, Pearl was in a serious car accident, neck injuries, multiple surgeries. Doctors doubted he'd train seriously again. But here's the thing about men who get up at 2:30 in the morning for decades. They don't know how to quit. Pearl rehabbed carefully, slowly, persistently. Even into his 60s and 70s, he maintained a training routine, moving slower, sure, more careful, but still deliberate, still strong, still showing up. He wrote books that became Bibles for serious lifters. Keys to the Inner Universe was an encyclopedic exercise manual. Getting Stronger became a foundational text for people who wanted to understand weight training beyond the surface level. He became a walking encyclopedia of exercises, injuries, modifications, and progressions. His gym stayed open. His students kept coming. The work continued, just without the spotlights. Young Arnold Schwarzenegger visited Bill Pearl's gym in those years. He asked questions about chest training, about presentation, about how to carry yourself like a champion. Pearl demonstrated a strict incline press, explaining the angle with the same calm patience he'd shown 100 others. The men you know as legends had their own legends, and Bill Pearl was one of them. But he never marketed that relationship, never leveraged it for publicity. Just kept teaching, kept training, kept living according to a code that valued substance over noise. Here's what Pearl's story teaches you. That quiet, steady excellence can outlast trends. That discipline beats talent when talent doesn't work. That you can be the best in the world at something and still be forgotten if you choose privacy over fame. Pearl beat 3 generations of bodybuilders. He maintained championship condition while running businesses and mentoring others. He proved he could build a massive physique without meeting an era that thought it was impossible. He came back at 41 and beat men half his age. And then he chose to clean his own gym instead of chasing Hollywood. The tragedy isn't that Bill Pearl was overlooked. The tragedy is what that oversight reveals about what we value. We remember the loudest voices, the biggest scandals, the most dramatic stories. But the man who showed up at 2:30 every morning for decades, who helped his competitors, who built a legacy through teaching instead of self-promotion, he slips through history's fingers. Not because he wasn't great enough, because he was too humble to force you to remember. Bill Pearl died in 2022 at 91 years old. He trained almost until the end. His physique, even in old age, carried the ghost of those championship years. The shoulders, the arms, the dignity. In his final years, he was still answering training questions from young lifters who discovered his books, still emphasizing form over ego, still preaching the gospel of consistent work. The next time someone asks you about the greatest bodybuilders of all time, remember the farm kid from Oregon who beat champions across 3 different decades and then chose to mop his own gym floors. Remember that greatness doesn't always come with fame. And sometimes the most overlooked champion is the one who deserves remembrance most. That's Bill Pearl's legacy. Not in the trophies, though he had plenty, but in the example of what a man can become when discipline becomes identity. When the work itself is enough. When the iron is the only judge that matters. We'll be back next time with another story from the era when bodybuilding was still pure. When gyms smelled like chalk and old leather. When champions were built in the dark, long before the cameras arrived.